Hi everyone, it's Stephanie Dreyer with vegamama.com. Actually, not vegamama.com, it's aka Vegamama, the founder of stephaniedreyer.com. And I am a plant-based meal planning expert where I help families, especially busy mamas and papas like me, bring more ease to their meal preps and meal times. I am also, as I mentioned, a mom of three. We are a very mixed bunch. I'm vegan. I've got a vegetarian. My oldest is vegetarian, Gabby, and then I've got three omnivores who eat just about everything. So I have been on a journey for the past 10 years to bring more joy to my kitchen, back to my kitchen, because I love to cook, and just more ease in general to my overall meal prep and meal times with such a diverse bunch of people to feed. Whether you have mixed diets in your house or you just have picky eaters, it's just normal. Trying to feed a bunch of people is challenging. So I am bringing what I've learned, some of my tips and tricks, to share with you to hopefully bring more ease to your kitchens and more joy around your dining room tables. And today I am talking about building a recipe library. One of my most favorite things about what I do and my joy of meal planning and meal prepping is the excuse that it gives me to look for recipes and build my recipe library in general. So I have a ton of things that I do. I actually really savor this time. Like, I geek out over my recipe time. I have magazines, cookbooks, my blog feeds that I look at, my Instagram feeds, Pinterest. I have so many different things that I use to organize and collect recipes. And I'm going to walk you through each of those things. I have different systems that I do for each of them, but I try to make it a ritual. I sit down with a glass of wine or my favorite seltzer water and lemon, and I cozy up, and I have a special spot. I'll put on a fire, I'll put on music, and I just dedicate. It's kind of downtime for me. You know, some people love to watch TV. I love my books, but this is definitely one of those things I do for me, my self-care time, to really enjoy it and relish it, so that when I do go into the kitchen, I've got recipes that I love and that I'm excited to cook with. And I think that's really important, that it's easy to look at cooking and meal prepping and planning as a chore, but if you're excited about what you're going to cook, that really changes the dynamic. And it doesn't mean you have to have new recipes for every meal. In fact, I wouldn't recommend doing that, right? You want to keep it simple and easy, but mixing in one or two recipes every week. And when I do my batch cooking on Sundays, we just did a whole I just did a whole Facebook Live last week on that topic. I like to bring out a couple of new recipes on the weekend when I'm batch cooking, because then I can have the time to just kind of learn and go through it. And as I said, I just love recipes. So I have a few tips. I'm looking at my notes here because I have a lot that I want to tell you today. So I mentioned collecting recipes, I love it, but it can be really overwhelming when you look at, especially me, I just told you like 5 different things sources that I use for collecting recipes. It can be really hard and overwhelming to keep it all organized. So I have a few things that I recommend doing overall, just general things to keep your library organized and clean. And if you build it in chunks over time, it's not overwhelming, and it keeps your library fresh, it keeps it current, and it keeps it exciting. So the first thing is I go through my cookbooks once a year, and if I haven't used it in a year, probably means that it's not something that's making my regular routine. If it's a special holiday book, maybe that'll give me pause. Otherwise, it goes in my donate or regift pile. And I'm actually doing that right now. Oh my goodness, you guys, my pantry, I feel like that is a never-ending project. I feel like I literally just cleaned that out like in the summer. So that's like, what, 6 months ago? I can't do the math. Actually, it might be more than 6 months ago. Anyways, I feel like I just did that, right? So now here I am, it's April going on May, and I need to do it again. So I just did part of it. I have to do it in chunks because you'd think it'd be a weekend project, but it's not in my pantry. But I just cleaned off this huge space where I'm kind of in the midst of transferring where I have my cookbooks, and I need to whittle down my cookbook collection. And I'm really pretty good about this. I'm going to talk to you about how I choose a cookbook to go onto my shelf. I'm very picky about what gets on my shelf, but it's time for me to go through it again. So I'm going to go through that hopefully today, so I can transfer all the new ones or ones I'm keeping into this new spot in my pantry. And what I'm going to do with the old ones is I'm going to give to friends. Like I have some cookbooks, I'm plant-based, but I have some cookbooks that aren't plant-based that I thought, oh, they'd inspire me. I haven't used them. And so I'm going to see if I have some friends who might want to take those off my hands. Otherwise, I'm going to donate them to the library. The library can always use cookbooks, and these are like, my cookbooks are in really good shape. So that's one thing that I do want regularly. The other thing is digital. So I mentioned Pinterest, Instagram. I'm going to talk about some other things that I do as well. You want to go through that I don't want to say once a week because that might not be realistic, but maybe every 3 months is a good way to go through and edit that and delete the recipes that you're not using, delete blogs you're not following or not using content from, Instagram feeds too if you're not feeling inspired, because it's a lot of clutter digitally. And I'm a person that gets very overwhelmed with clutter. It just invades my mental space, whether it's physical or, energetically. That's the word I'm looking for. So I have to do this regularly. I would say I don't do it any more than like quarterly. I might do it every other month, but when I start to feel like there's just too much, I go through and I clean that out. So make sure you're doing that as well. And digital recipes, if you use there's a lot of software programs and stuff out there. If you use one of those to plan and store your recipes, that's another thing along in the same vein with your blog feeds and your Instagram and all of that you should regularly go through and edit. And I know some people have a hard time getting rid of stuff, whether it's stuff in your closet or digital or recipes. I recommend looking at and this is so Marie Kondo, I didn't even mean to say this, but it's so Marie Kondo. If it doesn't bring you joy, if it's not bringing you inspiration, if you're not using it, why are you keeping it? And think of it as clearing that space to make new space to add more inspiration to your life. So if that helps you to decide what to get rid of, that's what I do. Specifically, I'm going to delve into all the different specific sources I've talked about. So cookbooks, I alluded to this earlier. I am a geek when it comes to cookbooks. I literally read them from cover to cover. I love them. But before I commit to a cookbook, I try to check it out from the library to take it for a test drive and see if I really like it, to see if the recipes are really true to what I want and need and will use in my household. And I ask myself 4 questions. I ask myself these questions. Will I make these meals easily and readily for my family? I am not interested I love Martha Stewart, but I'm not interested in creating like a 1 to 2 hour, investing 1 to 2 hours for prepping and planning and all this stuff, for a busy family who's going to be done with dinner in 30 minutes because they've got to get onto homework and the next thing. So it needs to be something that's doable and functional for my family. Number 2, is it different from the cookbooks that I already own? Sounds simple, but if you look at my collection, do I need another vegan bowls recipe or cookbook? Probably not. I have many. Number 3, are the ingredients readily available? So again, this is kind of Martha Stewart-esque. I love Martha Stewart, but sometimes her ingredients, and I don't even know, I shouldn't pick on Martha because I love Martha, but you know what I mean. There's cookbooks out there that are gourmet cookbooks, and there's a place for those, and I love having 1 or 2 of those in my collection, but I don't use them enough where it's going to be something that I keep on I'm going to allow to take up space on my bookshelf. The last question that I ask is, do the recipes take more than 45 minutes? And I kind of talked about this already, along with being the cookbook having recipes that I will make readily and easily for my family. So are they recipes that they like and will fit well into our meal plans and the types of foods and meals that we eat on a regular basis? But how long do they take? And really, I don't like to be in the kitchen during the week more than 45 minutes. I usually, when I start my meal prep for dinner, I'm in there about an hour total. That includes while I'm cooking dinner, I'm prepping lunches for the next day, and I'm cleaning up the kitchen. I'm emptying the dishwasher. I'm setting the table. I'm cleaning the dishes as I'm cooking. So basically, by the time dinner's ready, my kitchen is clean, the table is set, and lunches are ready for the next day. So really, the meal cannot take more than 30 to 45 minutes. Now, if they're the types of recipes that I can batch cook or prep parts of the ingredients or marinades or dressings or things like that, that's something that I can take into consideration. And then that 45 minutes can, be broken up over the course of the week. I'm all for that too. But again, you see where I'm going with this. It has to work into your schedule. So what are the 4 questions or 3 questions that make sense for you when you're building your library? And this doesn't just apply to cookbooks. It can apply to any recipe when you're deciding what you want to take up valuable space in your library. Because again, when I'm doing my meal planning on Thursday nights, I want to be able to easily go through my recipe library, right? You don't want to be overwhelmed by the amount of recipes that you have to choose from. You want to know, okay, I built in Italian this week. I'm going to grab that. Chloe Coscarelli is my go-to gal for vegan Italian. I'm going to grab that cookbook. Or I have a Pinterest board on just Italian recipes. But if it's not organized, if those recipes are full of, if that board is full of recipes that I know I haven't eaten in a while, or I tried some and I didn't edit, that board isn't useful to me. So you see where I'm going. It's all to make your life easier. So set it up how it's going to help you with your meal prep and make in your meal planning to make it a joyful, happy experience. So the next thing is recipes, I mentioned. So I'm very old school when it comes to, magazines. So I say recipes, magazines. I'm very old school. I tear out the recipes I want to keep for my magazines. I have a couple of subscriptions. I love Bon Appetit, and I know they're not all vegan in there, but I get inspired and can veganize some stuff. I love Veg News, of course. Those are my 2 favorite recipe go-tos for magazines, and I just store those in a binder. I have a binder with tabs, very old school, by category, and as I make them, if I like them, I'll search and see if there's a digital recipe that they've posted to their website, and then I'll pin that to the specific board that I have. Or if I don't like it, or if I've modified it or whatever, I'll put it in my folder with my notes. I have an old school recipe box from when I started cooking 20 years ago, and it has all my treasured family recipes in there, like the recipes that from my Aunt Peggy, my Uncle Noah, my mom, that she's written down in her recipe box and is passed down to me. So I do have those too. One of my dreams, I'm talking about all these recipe sources, is to come up with a system that just allows you to scan and organize all of this into one. I have done so much research and I've not found a one-size-fits-all system that works for me. I know there's some great things out there for digital, and there's different things out there, but just I haven't found anything that I have loved for everything that I do, and that's one of my dreams to do. We'll see. I'll put it on I'm wearing my shirt today, Goal Digger. I'll put that on my goal list and see if I can come up with that. Oh, and before I move on to blogs, I didn't mention some of the cookbooks that I am really, really digging right now. I wanted to share with you guys is Power Plates by Gina Hemshaw. She's got a great blog called The Full Helping. This cookbook, oh my gosh, I cooked out of it 3 things for Passover this past couple weeks. It was amazing. I love it. I'm cooking from it. Everyday Cooking by the Minimalist Baker also has some great vegan recipes. Oh, She Glows by Angela Liddon. I love her. And anything I already mentioned, Chloe Coscarelli. I love her food. She's just, I'm part Italian. She's Italian. She gets me. She knows. I love the way she cooks. And so those are some of my favorites. Okay, so blogs. I use Feedly. Do you guys know what that is? Feedly.com to organize those, the blogs that I follow. And what I do is I go through, you can organize by folder. So I've got one for vegan food, one for vegan living. I've got, lifestyle stuff. I've got all sorts of folders in there, and then I organize the blogs within there. And then what it does, Feedly, get it? It brings up a feed for each of those folders, and you can go through. So my one for recipes, I go through quite regularly, and I'll go through and I'll pin recipes straight from there that I want to keep. And I have about 80 boards. I'm going to talk to you in a little bit about my Pinterest that I save these to. So that's how I organize my blog feed, because I love blogs. You can tell I'm a reader. I just love, in my free time, I love going through recipes. I love looking at food magazines and all sorts of food culture stuff. So that's what I do with my blogs. Instagram. I love Instagram. It is so great for foodie people like me. And I love the save the bookmark feature. When you see a post, there's a little bookmark icon at the bottom that you can save. And then when you click it, it'll say save to collection. If you click that, you can create different boards for each of your collections is what they call it. So I have one just for recipes. It's a catch-all. It's not organized great. But what I do is when I'm doing my meal planning every week, I'll remember, ooh, let me scroll through here. I remember I saved a few recipes this week that I might want to incorporate. And I just kind of go through and then I'll add them to my plans. And then similar to what I do with the magazines and the blog recipes, after I use them in my plans and try them out, if they're winners with my family, I will pin it to the respective board and update. I can then delete it from my saved collection in my Instagram. So that way I keep it updated and constantly fresh and new, like I was saying. And it takes like a second to do that. So it's not difficult and it's a really easy way to keep it organized. Okay, last, Pinterest. And then I'm excited to talk to you about Pinterest because I have a fun free download for you. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. So I have a weekly session, literally, I told you I'm a geek about recipes, in my calendar for Pinterest. Me and Pinterest have a date every week. Is that weird? And I sit down with either a cup of tea and some dark chocolate or a glass of wine, more than times than not, usually a glass of wine. And I curl up on my couch or I curl up in my bed and I go through Pinterest on my computer or my iPad, excuse me, and I go through my feeds. I search for recipes. I add to my boards. I edit my boards. And I do it all for all kinds of things, by the way, not just recipes. Like if I'm planning a party, if I'm redecorating a room, if I just want inspiration for anything, I have a board for something. It's really relaxing for me. It's fun. It's relaxing. I probably could spend way too much time on there. But the way I think of it, it's like a guilty pleasure. Like some people have Games of Thrones. I have Pinterest. So I use it, though, just to take it a little step further, I use this to help me set up my meal things, or I set up the boards the way I do my meal things. So, for example, I have Taco Tuesdays every week. So I have a whole tacos board. Not that I use it, that one actually is pretty funny because my family is such creatures of habit. We usually do the same filling, but a girl can dream. So I love Mediterranean. So we'll do Mediterranean night or Asian night or Italian night. So I have boards for those with recipes and ideas in there. Or I also have them set up for meal ideas that I'll do, like breakfast sandwiches or what else do I have? Oh, smoothies, like smoothie bars. I love doing that. So I have boards just dedicated to that. So what I have for you, that's the way I organize my Pinterest. What I have for you is this free downloadable. It's called Pinterest Picks. I have 80 boards on Pinterest. What I did, I have more than 80 boards, but I have, I think, 80 food recipe boards just alone. It's kind of crazy. I told you I'm a geek for this stuff. I went through and I got the 10 most popular boards, the ones that are most followed, and I put links. So when you click onto this one says pasta noodles, it'll take you to that board and it's got hundreds of recipes. Each of these has hundreds of recipes in the board. So I've got pasta and noodles, soups and stews, salads, bowls, meatless meals, sweet treats, breakfast and brunch, Mexican and Latin, snacks, and Italian. Those were the 10 most popular boards. I've got a ton more over on my Pinterest, which is pinterest.com/veagmama. And I'm going to post in the comments when I'm done here the link to this where you can just download this directly so you can get that. I can't say enough about Pinterest when it comes to recipe building and organizing, and so I hope that this helps you. That is all I have for you today. I would love to hear about what your favorite recipe sources are, and if you have any tricks or tools that you use to organize recipes, please share in the comments below. We can all learn from each other and help each other with our recipe library building. And if you like this video, thank you so much for watching. If you like it, I would love you to share it with someone you think it could help or benefit from it. I'm going to be back next Sunday, May 5th at 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, a little bit earlier. And I'm going to take you through, actually, I have a few topics. Next week, I'm going to take you through, I've been planning ahead so you can see them all in my fan page, in my Vegan Mama fan page, all the upcoming topics, because I've got them mapped out through June actually. But this next one is we're going to talk about how to cook from your pantry. Obviously, I mentioned I've been cleaning out my pantry, and I have got a lot of stuff in there I could use up, and you save money when you cook from your pantry. So I'm going to share some tips and tools for that and some meal ideas to cook from your pantry. So that is next Sunday at 9 a.m. And you can check the rest of the upcoming dates on my page. Thank you so much for watching. And if you're not following me on Instagram, check me out over there, because I have more meal ideas and inspiration that I share daily. My handle over there is at Veegmama, VEEGMAMA, and I hope to see you around. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.